The phone rang at exactly 2:07 a.m., a sharp, unnatural sound that cut through the quiet like glass breaking. Daniel Reeves was already half awake. Single dads don't sleep deeply. Not really. Not when your whole world is in the next room. Breathing softly under a dinosaur blanket, he reached for the phone before the second ring. Careful, always careful not to let it wake Lily. "Hello?" His voice was rough, cautious. A pause. Then a woman's voice, shaking, urgent, barely holding together. "Please, you have to come. I don't know who else to call. They said this was your number." Her breath hitched. "I think my father is dying." Daniel sat up. "Wrong number," his brain whispered. But something in her voice, fear stripped raw, no pretense, kept him from hanging up. "Ma'am," he said gently, already swinging his legs out of bed, "I think you may have the wrong—" "Please don't hang up," she cried, the words tumbling over each other. "Everyone else is gone. The nurses, they're asking about decisions. Paperwork, things I don't understand. I need someone to help me think." Daniel closed his eyes for a second. This wasn't his problem. He had work in the morning. Bills stacked on the kitchen counter. A 6-year-old daughter who needed breakfast. A ride to school, and a dad who wasn't running on empty. But then he heard it again, that crack in her voice. Alone. Completely alone. He exhaled slowly. "Where are you?" he asked. 25 minutes later, Daniel stood outside St. Mary's Medical Center, still wondering what exactly he was doing. He had thrown on jeans, grabbed his jacket, and left a note for Lily in case she woke up. His neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, had a spare key, just in case. The hospital door slid open with a soft mechanical hum. Inside, the fluorescent lights were too bright, too cold. He spotted her immediately. She sat curled into herself in a chair near the ICU waiting area, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. Her hair, dark, slightly disheveled, fell across her face as she stared at the floor, like it might give her answers. She looked up when he approached. For a moment, neither of them spoke. You came," she said, disbelief softening her voice. Daniel gave a small, unsure nod. "I think you called the wrong guy." A faint, almost broken smile flickered across her lips. "Yeah," she whispered. "I think I did." But she didn't look disappointed. She looked relieved. "I'm Daniel," he said, pulling out the chair beside her. "Claire." They sat in silence for a moment, the distant beeping of monitors echoing from behind the ICU doors. "My father collapsed tonight," Claire said finally. "Massive stroke. They said it's complicated." Her voice tightened. "They keep asking me about consent forms, procedures, risks. I don't even know what half of it means." Daniel leaned forward, resting his forearms on his knees. "Okay," he said calmly. "Let's take it one step at a time." And just like that, something shifted. For the next 2 hours, Daniel didn't leave her side. He spoke to the nurses when her voice faltered, asked questions she didn't think to ask, translated medical jargon into something human. Not because he knew everything, but because he knew what it felt like to be overwhelmed, to be the only one left holding things together. At one point, Claire looked at him, eyes rimmed red. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. Daniel hesitated. Because he remembered a night 3 years ago, sitting in a different hospital, holding his wife's hand as it grew colder. Because he remembered wishing desperately that someone, anyone, would sit beside him and say, "You're not alone." He shrugged instead. "You sounded like you needed someone." Claire swallowed hard, looking away. "Thank you," she said. By morning, the sky outside had turned a soft gray. Claire's father was stable, for now. Daniel stood, stretching slightly, suddenly aware of how tired he was. "I should get back," he said. "My daughter will be up soon." Claire stood too, as if the thought of him leaving made the room tilt. "Wait," she said, then paused, unsure. Daniel smiled gently. "You'll be okay." She nodded, but her hands tightened at her sides. "Can I at least—" She hesitated. "Can I thank you properly?" He shook his head. "You already did." And then he walked away, just like that. Daniel didn't expect to see her again. Life didn't work that way. He went back to his routine, school drop-offs, long shifts, bedtime stories, and quiet evenings that felt a little too quiet. Until 3 days later, when someone knocked on his door. He opened it to find Claire standing there. But she looked different. Composed, polished, like the woman from the hospital had been a crack in something otherwise perfectly built. "Hi," she said, offering a small smile. Daniel blinked. "How did you—" "I asked the hospital," she admitted. "I hope that's not weird." He stepped aside, still processing. No, come in." She glanced around the modest apartment, the toys neatly stacked in a corner, the drawings taped to the fridge, the unmistakable warmth of a lived-in home. "It's nice," she said softly. "It's enough," Daniel replied. They sat across from each other. "My father is awake," Claire said. "He's going to need a long recovery, but—" "He's here," Daniel smiled. "That's good." She studied him for a moment. "Do you know who he is?" Daniel shook his head. "William Carter." The name meant nothing to him. Claire let out a small, almost amused breath. "He owns Carter Holdings." Daniel blinked. That name he recognized. A billion-dollar empire. Real estate tech investments. "You're an heiress," he said slowly. Claire gave a small, tired laugh. "I hate that word." Silence settled between them. "I didn't come here to talk about that," she said. "I came because—" She hesitated, searching for the right words. "Because that night, you didn't see any of it. The money, the name. You just saw me." Daniel shrugged lightly. "You were the only thing that mattered." Her eyes softened. "I don't have many people like that," she admitted. "Actually, I don't have anyone like that." Daniel didn't know what to say to that. Claire leaned forward slightly. "So I'm asking you something that's probably going to sound crazy." He raised an eyebrow. "Stay," she said. Daniel frowned. "Stay in my life," she clarified quickly. "Not—" She stopped, choosing her words carefully. "Not as some kind of charity case or employee. Just stay. Be someone real in a world that isn't." Daniel let out a quiet breath. "This isn't my world," he said gently. "I know," she replied. "That's why I'm asking." He thought about Lily, about the simple, fragile balance he had built, about how easy it would be to say no. But he also thought about that night, about how a wrong call had led him somewhere unexpected. "Okay," he said finally. "We'll see." Claire smiled, really smiled this time, and something about it felt like the beginning of a story neither of them had planned. Weeks turned into months. Daniel didn't become part of her world overnight. He resisted it at first. The formal dinners, the polished conversations, the quiet judgment in strangers' eyes. But Claire never asked him to change. She showed up at his apartment, ate takeout at his kitchen table, helped Lily with homework, laughing when she got things wrong. And Lily, who had been so careful with her, heart since losing her, mother began to open up again. One evening, as Daniel tucked her into bed, she looked up at him. "Is Claire staying forever?" she asked. Daniel paused. "I don't know," he said honestly. Lily considered this, then nodded. "I hope she does." The turning point came unexpectedly. Claire's father, now recovering, asked to meet Daniel. The man was everything Daniel expected, sharp, commanding, used to control. "I hear you showed up when no one else did," William Carter said, studying him. Daniel shifted slightly. "I just answered a call. Most people wouldn't have." A pause. "What do you want?" the older man asked. Daniel frowned. "Nothing." William's eyes narrowed as if trying to find the angle. "There's always something." Daniel shook his head. "Not this time." For the first time, the man looked unsure. That night, Claire found Daniel standing outside, hands in his pockets. "You handled that well?" she said. He gave a small smile. "I think he's still trying to figure me out." "So am I," she admitted softly. Daniel looked at her. "You don't have to," he said. "I'm not complicated." Claire shook her head. "No, you're just rare." Silence stretched between them. Then she stepped closer. "Do you ever think about how strange this is?" she asked. "One wrong call. And now this?" Daniel smiled faintly. "Maybe it wasn't wrong," he said. Claire's breath caught. Maybe it was exactly the right one. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Claire said the words she had been holding back for weeks. "Stay," she whispered. "Not just in my life, in all of it. With me, with us." Daniel thought about everything that had led him here. The loss, the loneliness, the quiet strength it took to keep going. And then he thought about what he had found instead: connection, warmth, a future that didn't feel empty. He reached for her hand.